Hey, you are now listening or watching the Halos in the Infield podcast, sponsored in part by Noble L Works over on 1621 South St. Clair, where you can get discounts by just mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Drink discounts on us, baby. And also by 714 Tickets, 714 Tickets. The price you see is the price you get, and you also get 10% additionally off in the Apply Now code once you order your tickets just by mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Now enjoy the show. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Halos in the Infield daily podcast show, as we have two shows out today. There's one with Cup of Joe, which is on YouTube. You can watch that. He recorded that the other night. And the one that we're doing this morning for reasons unknown. But we're just doing this because we're getting some content out there, and also just because I have some time to do it, and so does Rob. So there you go. And speaking of Rob, he's joining us. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. It would be better if we were leaving this little homestand here, but see what happens.
Yeah. It's been very disappointing, Rob, as you know, obviously coming off that loss against Baltimore. How do you think the boys did? First question, how do you think the boys did, in your opinion, versus a team that is, in some people's minds, World Series caliber already?
It's tough. It's that Angels little streak that we have every year, right? Where we look good enough where we can compete with some of the best out there. But we have those little intangibles, Suarez, and all these little things here and there, lack of hitting in the runner scoring position area. Some games, within other games, we're killing it. I was pretty impressed overall with them. Again, we're handicapped from the start, right? We don't have a full roster, a winning roster, let's say, right? I know everyone goes, oh, we believe this team can win, but we don't have it. I mean, look at the pitching. There's nothing there, in my opinion. But I was pretty impressed overall. I mean, they persevered. They could have rolled over. Tough loss last game, but other than that, we're competing and we're in these games. So that's the best thing overall. To be in these games is the opportunity to win these games.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those catch-22s, because I experience that a lot when I do the post-game, Rob, is when people tell you, well, why are you complaining so much? This is what you wanted. You wanted them to compete and be in every game. It's like, okay, well, that's the what is it? Not the greedy side of me wants them to win these games, but then I realize when you break down all the stats, when you break down the plays, what happens, it seems like these other teams can afford to make mistakes at times, get away with it, and still pull a dub. The Angels make a mistake here and there, it's usually a death sentence, even though they're right there. They can't afford those mistakes, those costly errors, the adjustments, you know what I mean? Like, you brought up Suarez, and man, oh man, dude, it's like you don't know how many people on social media were like, well, there goes the game. And that's before he had the problems. I mean, we're going to skip ahead to game 3 right there, bro, but what did you think of Suarez in that situation in a 2-run deficit?
I mean, it's god awful. It's easy to have the hindsight's 2020, right? So it's easy to go ahead and critique Washington, because if Suarez pitched great, everyone would be like, oh, he's turned the corner, right? He's good to go. Washer's right. We trust him. But I mean, I'm a firm believer in I keep saying it all the time, there's certain pitchers on the staff that don't belong in Major League Baseball. And I don't want to bash Washington so much, but he said that, why is Ben Joyce not up here? I'm a big Ben Joyce fan because he can't locate his fastball. So you mean to tell me you'd rather have Jose Suarez up here instead of blowing these games? I'd rather have Ben Joyce pumping 100 miles per hour plus, confusing hitters a little bit. Hey, I got to be on this. I think you get more hitters to swing and miss with his pitches and all this stuff, because he's bringing it hard like that. Then he changes with the changeup or a slider, whatever he has working for him that day. It's an opportunity. Yes, he doesn't throw strikes as much like he should. He does struggle with command at times, but he's that factor that elevates the game and puts pressure on those hitters. And it's tough unless you have a super disciplined team who can see the ball great. But, I mean, for me, he's the guy that you pitch after Anderson.
Yeah.
Throwing 80s, high 80s, some touching 94 now here and there, but you need that little mix-up. We don't have that balance. You can't go from Anderson like that to Suarez, who doesn't have the swing and miss type stuff sometimes, who leaves those pitches out in front of the plate.
Yeah, I like it.
Sorry,
go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were saying. Go ahead.
No, I get it. You got to use your whole roster. Understand, but your starting pitcher kept you in the game, competing. This happened the very first game with Reed Detmers. Didn't have his best stuff, but he kept you in the game to compete. I mean, what more do you want from these guys? Pretty much, if I'm the starter pitcher right now and I'm at the end of my contract year, I'm looking elsewhere. Where am I going?
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where me and Fernando were talking the other day, and he was saying that, he's starting to believe it's Perry with all this analytics stuff, or at least his crew, and the fact that, because we thought it was Numbnuts Nevin that was making the decisions as far as, well, this guy can't go today because he went yesterday. And I thought when that was gone, Ron would take full control. But you could tell it's the mindset. If you look at Ron's past, he didn't do this with Texas because A, it wasn't a thing, and B, that they don't do that down in Atlanta. So it was one of these things. Now it's an Angels organization type thing where they coddle these pitchers. And it's just very disappointing because, look, Ron, I get it. He wants to stick up for his boys, like you said, and you got to pitch everyone on your roster. But for him to come out and say at the time he was the best available guy left on the bench, in that situation, disagree full and wholeheartedly, because obviously the other pitchers came in there and didn't have problems, and again, we've seen a track record from this guy where he's never been consistent. He's never been a guy that you could be like, okay, he's good for this particular game. Maybe not next game or the last game, but in this situation, he's good. It's like, no, every time he comes in, you're always cringing because it's like, dude, he's going to do something. I mean, go back to his appearance before this one where he pitched an inning. It was clean. Mind you, he threw 3-2 to every batter. And if it wasn't for the umpires being generous, he probably would have walked all three of those guys. So, I mean, he doesn't have any kind of good stuff that you could sit back and be like, okay, I'm good with Suarez in this position. So I'm wholeheartedly with you when you say, hey, let's go with Ben Joyce, because I know that's something you were talking about, when they could have had a setup spot of, Soriano when he was still a setup guy to Moore to Estevez, because then you give him that changeup in the middle. And that would have been smart to do after seeing so many slow fastballs and changeups from Anderson. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally in agreement with you there. But with this entire series, you had Craig Kimbrell on the ropes twice, and they literally handed him 2 saves. I mean, I don't like that guy in general, but to see him celebrating on our mound really pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean, he's not blowing anybody away. He's throwing
Nope.
94 miles per hour as well, and he's a closer. And game one, I'm sure we'll talk. Mike Trout, let's talk about that. You talked
Okay.
about in post game. You have to swing. He is judging what he thinks of balls and strikes. No, put the ball in play and let good things happen. What happened game two? All of a sudden, the ball gets put in play, right? We're 5 for 10 with runners in score position. There's a couple of the ones may have been errors, right? May have been errors, but they let it go, called them hits, but the ball got put in play. You
Correct.
make them make a play. Not only do you got to make the stop, you got to make the throw across the diamond as well too. Trout, you're fast. You have speed all around. And then I would like to see. I know Washington doesn't want to do this, show up his players so much. Call time one time. I haven't seen a third base coach call time or somebody call time, talk to the hitter, settle him down. Trout was rattled. He was amped. He
Yeah.
wanted to go ahead and win that game, but you're arguing balls and strikes instead. Dude, swing the effing bat. You're one of the best players to ever play this game. Generational talent by far. Is your weakness the fastball still? We talked about what I think he should do with his hands. He does it well with the leadoff role because he's not trying to hit home runs. He's not trying to drive in those runners, right? He's trying to get on base. His swing changes. It's a Tony Gwynn type swing, which we need. And I would wish Trout would go watch those old videos of Derek Jeter. And what did Derek Jeter do? Derek Jeter looked for fastball to drive to second base into the right center gap. Why? Because if it was a breaking ball and he was early on it, he'd be pulling it to left field. If it threw a little bit harder, he was hitting it to right field. He hit all fields and all that stuff. If his timing wasn't perfect, that's what he did. That's what his success was. Take that model from your favorite player that you idoled growing up and put it to your game today because you have that talent to do that. It drives me insane right now.
Absolutely. And it's tough because he's a guy that can spray, like you said, the field all over. And you just look at like his at bats where he's been struggling, or that he fouls the balls into the right field stands or first base side stands, and they were all up in that strike zone where he looked at all three up. And it's like, bro, okay, if you're willing to swing through the first 8 innings at all of these, you mean to tell me you can't take the bat off your shoulder once and just see what happens on a high fastball or a high sinker that he was throwing? It's like, bro, take a shot. And I think that was the most frustrating thing, because as an Angel fan, and I know you're with me on this one, there's no reason or no there's nothing in us that we scream, oh man, I hope Trout fails. Oh man, I hope he looks bad in the clutch. Oh man, I hope he never gets it going. I like talking trash about the greatest angel of all time. And I think that sucks because a lot of times you're blamed like that. We're blamed like that because they think we're hating. It's like, no, we want this dude to succeed. We want him to come through the clutch. You think we like the fact he's got 10 homers and 14 RBIs? I think it is, or something like that. We want him to have 10 home runs and like 26 RBIs. You know, we want him to be hitting the ball, like you said, to right field, moving guys over because the stolen bases are there. The defense has been there. You know, the home runs are there, but he's just not getting the situational hitting, the runners in scoring position with a team already bad in that category. He's got to be the leader to turn it around.
Yeah. But who's holding him accountable?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. No one's had the balls to do it. I mean, this is what I love about Torrey Hunter. What happened when Pujols wasn't doing things right? He held him accountable. We talk about it all the time on this network, right? Moustakas needs to come back.
Oh,
We
yeah,
need
yeah.
something like that to hold somebody accountable and tell them, hey, gut check. Hey, like, what the hell? I was kind of pumped up at first. Remember that story broke where Hicks supposedly checked Trout and they came out and said it wasn't true? I was like, I kind of like that. I'm not going to lie, because when you're Mike Trout and one of the best players, you're walking on cloud nine all times. It's good to be brought back down to reality here and there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, he needs to be humbled in a bit, you know? So it's something that it's something that this team needs to do basically to check itself, because I don't know what kind of like what's that called, arrogance that this team inherited at some point. But things can't just come to you because you're wearing the Angels or because you're Mike Trout or stuff like that. He's gone through some issues and he's got to be held accountable. So, you know, the Hicks thing could have been something good, but I mean, if Ron's getting to him too, hopefully we'll see some adjustments, because so far right now the pitching in itself is been so much better. You know, like the pitching has been so much better than we expected so far. There's been a few hiccups, like we brought up Suarez and stuff like that, but the team itself has been doing a good job pitching, and we've been in every game, like you said. The hitting is what's been the problem. You know, we've done those 1 for 9s, 1 for 10s, leaving 7 to 10 guys on. I mean, the other night we struck out 16 times, and because the pitching outside of Suarez kept us in the game, and we had a little bit of home run rallies. I mean, we only lost that game by 1 run, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, if you can cut, I mean, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to have some mistakes and you're going to have some issues at times. But if they can clean up the runners in scoring position and look and keep the strikeouts under 10, you know, I think it's a recipe for success. And do you see that happening with these group of guys moving forward through the rest of the season, to where at least, you know, they may not be winning all the time, but the offense will be much more legit?
Yeah, I think there's a little mending to need to be done to the lineup itself. Personally, I mean, I'm a big Mickey Moniak fan,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think he's cutting it right now. So I think it is time to send him down to AAA a little bit, or do something to change it up. Let Adele play. Adele's killing the ball right now, and how you not have a hot bat in there at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the little adjustments here and there in the lineups in itself and switching guys around, I do think these guys can compete. I mean, I want to honk the Halo honk, but I kind of see Ohapi, right? Ohapi's tearing it up right now.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that's our guy. Neto, if Neto continues to turn this corner, if they keep working with him, that he can move up in lineup too. I mean, we need to make minor moves to help us out, and mainly the moves in the bullpen in itself. But sustainable wise, I don't think sustainable all year long. You're going to put a lot of pressure on that starting pitching to go extended, because Reed Detmers, I felt like he should have been taken out a little bit earlier, but it was the beginning of the first game of the series. You have no one to go to. You can blow your bullpen early, and then you still got 2 more games. Plus, you have Minnesota coming to town. So currently, it's not sustainable, and then our minor league system is trash as itself too. Not to say the players down there are, but our depth is awful. And every time we make a transaction or move, we lose a guy. Right? We lost Soto back to who? Boston took him again. Somebody took
Uh,
Soto again, or Atlanta.
yes. Yeah, there you go, Atlanta. Yeah.
So it's it's tough, right? It's tough to be an Angels fan right now because this is what you have. This is the product on the field, and if an injury happens or a slump like a Drury slump that's going on right now, because he's also injured as well. I mean, it's gonna be a long season for us like this, but it's everyone else is failing around us. We're in it still.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe it. You're off to a 10-15 start and you're still right there. A couple winning streak. Let's just say they sweep the Twins, you're going to pick up at least a game, maybe even two, the way the West is playing. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing right now, but at some point the West is going to wake up. I don't know what's going to spark it. I don't know who's going to take off. I mean, my bet would be on Texas, but right now, I mean, as a team, this team still needs, a lot of redefining roles need to be put in place, or at least people need to fall into these roles. Because I mean, like, look, I had some people hit us up saying, "Oh, David Fletcher's a free agent." It's like, I don't know if we want to go back that route again. You brought up Moustakas, who again would have been great. But there's some additions that you can make to help this roster, but there's some glaring issues. Like you brought up Moniak. Like nobody wants to have him succeed as much as you do, and me. I mean, I love the guy too. I want the guy to, I think he has a really good swing when he's on. I think he plays pretty good in the outfield wherever you place him. His speed, I mean, he's one of those contact guys where if he's getting on base, I mean, the dude can create some havoc, especially with Ron's new strategy of running all the time. But in your opinion, getting back to Moniak real quick, are these, I mean, we were worrying about Adele getting playing time, and I'm starting to see that with the crappy play of Hicks and Moniak, they're literally handing the job to Adele. And I think Adele's, despite his base running blunders, he's starting to take the job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, his base running blunders, just mental mistakes, mental errors happen in baseball, right, all the time. I mean, there's your E on the scoreboard for a reason too, for physical errors in itself, but mental errors happen all the time, right? You little mental lapse or whatever's happening with him mentally wise, but it's his job. It's absolutely his job. Hicks, turn the page, get rid of him, pay him $700,000 for 2 years, dump it. We've dumped more money elsewhere, right? We're wasting time. I'd rather us resign Jared Walsh at this point in time than see Aaron Hicks keep taking the field. He's not good defensively anymore. He's not bad, but he's not like what he was in New York and Toronto. He's not hitting. Was he hitting a $175, something like that, or no, $140?
Yeah, $140. They're
Below
both
the Mendoza
hitting,
line.
Yeah, they're both under a $140 right now.
Yeah, and then you have Miguel Sano tearing it up too, so it's not like you can DH one of these guys. So you have to go ahead and let Adele run. Let him play. I mean, the more he plays, the more active he is. I believe he's going to be the better player out of the three of them in itself. I do think Moniak has a loop in his swing as well. A little bit. It's called a lazy swing. They used to say Gary Anderson had it, but he had quick enough hands to get through the zone. But Moniak has a very lazy swing as a lefty, and it's disheartening because I wanted to see that 280 type hitter, but I don't know. We just need stability. Like how Ron says, he wants to do the same lineup for 5 games. Then do it. Why are you making the changes?
Yeah. I think he's trying to figure this out at the same time. I think when he took the job in Texas, it was more cut and dry. You had guys who you could pencil in certain spots, guys who could only play a couple times a week compared to guys who could play all week. And I don't think he's found that out. I think he only knows a few guys like that are reliable that will be in there every day, like your Wards and your freaking Trouts and stuff like that. Neto, and right now Ohapi, who's surprising me. He's playing every day and he looks as fresh as hell. So there's a lot of question marks, and I think we're going to see a lot of this moving forward, 25 games in, but like a great sports broadcaster said, we have a lot of baseball left to be played, and the season starts tonight, and we got the Minnesota Twins for 3. And the Twins, aren't exactly lighting it up. And I think the only reason why, that they are, winning in the last few days is because they were playing that god-awful team in Chicago on the north side. And right now the Twins are sitting there at 11-13. They've won, like I said, won 4 in a row, but, you really don't count that facing the White Sox. And they're 6.5 out in that division because they have Ohio in that division. But as you look at the probables for this series, Minnesota has Ober, Paddock, and Lopez. not exactly household names, but they're decent. They're decent pitchers. And then we're throwing tonight against Aubert, Patrick Sandoval. And who knows what we're going to get with him. I know we've talked about it. What do you think Sandoval's got to do tonight to be successful against the Twins?
Not pitch. I want to have faith in the guy. It's tough. I mean, he's struggling. Just hit your spots. Go Greg Maddux. Don't try to overpower guys. Just throw to the spot. You have a good, decent breaking ball enough. I mean, you have to locate it up in the zone a little bit for a strike because you keep throwing the dirt. It's no longer a throwaway pitch, right? You're not going to get guys to swing and miss.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Get through 5 innings. Get through 5 innings, get 4 runs or less, and then hand it over to the bullpen. That's the best case scenario, I think, for Sandoval. Of course, I want to see him do great, but I hope he rely on his two-seam fastball a lot more. He's kind of gone away from that. I remember when he first started out here as a middle relief guy, long relief guy, that two-seam fastball was a good pitch for him. He had some nice little life to that ball, and since then, I see his four-seam just flat. It's absolutely flat.
Yeah, and we brought it up a bunch of times that like he's been in and out of the zone too much. Like he plays around the strike zone. I'm hoping that he's more aggressive. I know Ron's been really pushing that to stay in the strike zone and get that first pitch strike. I think Ron wants something at a 70% clip first pitch strike, and Angels currently are at about a 44%. So he wants to raise that, obviously. And I think the key for me is Patrick's just got to have is throw it 20 or less per inning. If he could do that, I think he'll be fine. Like if he can keep it to within 13 to 15 pitches, he should be able to get to where you were talking about 5 or 6 innings. Because otherwise, I mean, we've said it since he's been here in Anaheim. He's got the stuff. He's just not consistent, and maybe he doesn't have the headspace for it. Like he doesn't have that like killer instinct. But these are the starts that he needs. He had a nice one in Miami. Didn't pitch all that bad over there. I think was it Cincinnati was his last start.
Yeah.
So he's really got to pitch much better here against the Twins and handle a lineup that's really not all that good.
I mean, it was a catcher batting 67. Right? Hopefully he's playing tonight. But that's what worries me, right? You get this guy and come out, they're struggling, they come face the Angels, and all of a sudden they find their step. Mm-hmm. And then they get it. It's always versus us. Why? We can never find ours against a team like this who's struggling. I don't know. It's tough. Tough for Sandy this matchup. I'm more worried about I'd rather just out hit him. But we don't have that capability. And let me ask you this too. Rengifo, batting so low in the lineup, batting 288 and leading the team in doubles. What do you think about that?
I love the fact that he's hitting doubles because it may be infectious for the rest of the team, but like I don't know if he's not geared enough to be in that number 2 spot because I don't like the experiment with because my thing was like and Angel's grandma checked in with the Joe Odell. She hopes he does good. She's a big fan of his. I was hoping that they'd find a leadoff hitter and whether it was Rengifo or somebody else with Shonawell and then bat Adele 2 and then go Trout 3, Ward 4. Now they got Trout number 1. It's like, I don't like that. I would like to see Adele higher in the lineup. I think he can succeed up there. I mean, we were getting absolutely nothing, from the top of that order for the first like 10 or 12 games. And that's why they started making the changes. But I think Adele's been hitting to more contact. He's been more patient at the plate. And then as far as Renifo's been the same. And it seems like he's not trying to do what he was trying to do 2 years ago, which was hit home runs. He had a really good end of the season last year before he got hurt. And I do like him more in a leadoff spot or a number 2 spot to set up a Trout or a Ward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Adele's he's doing what I want Trout to do, taking the ball the other way, looking for that fastball to drive in the right center. I mean, that's whoever's working with Odell's doing a great job. He's always had this. Right, he's always had the capability to do this. This is why he's one of the top prospects going up. This is why he was drafted so high. We never give this guy a fighting chance. Now you actually have a manager who knows how to manage his situation and make him better. So I love that in itself. But I like to see, I don't know about you, I'd like to see Rengifo up in the lineup a little bit more. I don't like him batting near the bottom. I get it jumpstarts the lineup and everything at the bottom half of it, but I mean, I'd rather see Ohapi down there a little bit more.
I think they're trying to do that to jumpstart Neto. I think that's the only reason why you're also seeing, like you said, Ohapi down there, because Ohapi is a guy that at some point you'd want around 5, and the way Drury's hitting, when he does come back fully, I would play him down till he gets his numbers back up. Like I would have him around where you have Adele right now, where it's at 7 or 8 even, right before Neto, and maybe he'll give you a pleasant surprise home run at that 8th spot when you're not expecting it, or he'll double or get something going. Because there's some players like that. Like right now, you have half of them that are good. Like the other night, you had the 6 through 9 hitters, like was it 8 for 14, and but then the next night they're like 1 for 12 or 1 for 13, and the top of the order is killing it. We just haven't had that. We've had it a couple nights, and obviously we went 2-0 on very balanced attacks where you had at least every guy get on with at least a hit or a walk. And I understand that's not going to happen every night. You're going to have guys go 0 for 4, but if you're at least getting 6 out of the 9 with pretty decent production, you should win ball games. You should put up a crooked number instead of, scoring 2 runs or less.
Yeah.
And I think right now, like you said, we have hitters like Moniak, like Drury. Neto's finally starting to get out of it a little bit. That just aren't hitting. Shonawell's starting to show promise. But it's just been a slow start in a month where, honestly, we needed a fast start with a schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the toughest schedules. It has to be, if not the toughest, currently in baseball, right? The month that we're going through currently and everything. And we knew that. And hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel, because our division's playing like crap. And of course, this is the one year we don't play them in the beginning where they're struggling, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a lot of guys are picking it up here and there. It would have been nice to see a little more depth in the minor leagues and everything. I know it's early. People go, you don't pull guys up, but then look at our situation with Rendon. We had to pull up, what's his name again? Sorry, I don't know how to say his name.
I kill his name every time.
Have you heard of him before this year?
No. To be honest with you, I knew there was a few players that had went through the minors pretty fast, but to say for instance, like Baltimore, you look at Norfolk, AAA Norfolk, and you could see all the guys that are just knocking on the door, ready to come up. And you hear of guys from Pittsburgh. You don't hear of anybody from Rocket City or Utah, like where everyone's like, oh man, these guys are going to be, the next best thing. I mean, literally the guys we saw in spring training are the only guys we know. If you look up the stats compared Norfolk and the other teams from Altoona or whatever for Pittsburgh compared to our minor league system, I mean, we're happy a dude's batting like 300. We're like, oh my god! But they've got guys that are batting like 400, got 10 home runs already. They blow our boys away.
Yeah, it's like you said, they're household names in the AAA. You knew Jackson Holiday was coming up, ready to go, right? You can almost name majority of these guys have guys waiting in the wings. You can name the Dodgers. I hate to say it, the Dodgers have one of the best too, right? Them in Tampa. You can name top to bottom the AA and AAA guys who are waiting to come in. It's disheartening to see, and I felt like our plan wasn't beyond the actual 25-man roster.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you had the 40-man, I understand that, but there was no plan to fill in here, fill in there. It's kind of clueless for this team, and to expect them to win games like this, series like this against Baltimore, and then go compete against Minnesota, it's going to be tough, because even Minnesota, struggling as they are now, they have guys that are good to go. I believe if Royce Lewis wasn't hurt as well, too, you'd be talking a different Minnesota team here.
Well, and the other guy too, who is like, I guess their Joe Adele is Buxton, right?
Well, Buxton's way better, right? I mean, he's kind of established, isn't he?
No, well, established in a way that he's got the talent, but he's like so he's like their Adele slash Rendon, where he just can't stay on the field. You know, when they have him on the field, they're a much different team.
Absolutely.
They just I don't know what it is. He can't stay healthy, and that's a guy that if he's on the field, he makes them tremendously better. And I think he's hurt again, isn't he? Right now, he's not really playing Byron Buxton.
I think he was hurt the last series.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know. Yeah, so I mean, this series here with the Twins, I think is you gotta. I mean, I know they lost the first 2, and it's hard to sweep anybody. But if ever the Angels needed a sweep, it's against the Twins, and they really need to take this series seriously, just for their confidence to get closer back to 500, to stay relevant a little bit, and to maybe have a couple good nights hitting, to where they could take that into the next series on the road, and or against a good Phillies team. I'm
Phillies.
sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, the Phillies come to town. So and that's going to be a battle, man. That's going to be star power. I expect a big A, even though for some reason this should have been the weekend series, the Phillies,
Mm-hmm.
but the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday series with the Phillies is going to be a barn burner. You're going to have star power. It's going to be sold out. It's probably going to be like a 60-40 Angel fans, So,
Luckily, you can't tell. They're both red, so that helps us out a little bit.
well, I mean, you might see a lot of old school burgundy, but
True, true.
yeah, but I that Phillies series is going to be fun. I think because
Oh, absolutely.
even with Numbnuts Nevin, they played him pretty tough in Philly. I think it was last year or the year
Yeah,
before.
it's a good assessment to see where we're at overall, right? To see how we're competing with some of the best. I mean, just got the Baltimore series. You can go toe to toe with them, and now even the Reds too. The Reds, I know they swept us, but I wouldn't say besides the first game, they didn't really blow us away.
Yeah, absolutely. They got those runs late in both
Mm-hmm.
games. So moving forward, as frustrating as it is, do you think Ron will finally cancel out the whole "you pitched yesterday, I pitched yesterday"? This guy pitches this guy, or these guys aren't available. Do you think that will stop at some point, or is that just something Ron's going to have to deal with and the fans are going to have to deal with?
I think it's something we're gonna have to deal with. We just talked about the minor league system being so bad, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think Perry is instituting this. I know Atlanta does not use analytics. The manager down there hates it. He likes old school grit, stomach type baseball, where if I feel you're good, you're good. If I don't, then I'm going to take you out. We don't have that capability to do it because we don't have the depth. If one of our pitchers goes down, we're in deep trouble, as we already are.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. If you lose a Matt Moore and an Estevez right now, even Estevez, I don't think is a closer, personally, in my mind. We're going to watch Stevenson. If another arm goes down, we're in huge trouble. So you have to go ahead and start laboring these guys and say, hey, you need this day off, you need the next day. And I hate it because it's like the NBA controlling minutes, right? Controlling playing time. I hate that crap. Nolan Ryan went out and threw every third day over 100 pitches, and he'd tell you still today that guys today are babied so bad. But the product of what we're seeing on the field and with the arm injuries around the league, you have to do this. If not, you're going to be a very bad team for a very long time.
Yeah, I think there's well, you say Atlanta doesn't do it, and Strider was like their first real big arm trouble that they've had. We've had several Tommy Johns. Like you don't know how close I was a couple years ago when the Angels had I think they were leading the league with Tommy Johns. They had like 8 or 9 to getting my friend to make me a custom jersey. It said, it was a number 1 Angels jersey with Tommy John on the back. Like I really wanted that because I was like, bro, I'm getting tired of this. I need to be disrespectful and sarcastic at the same time.
Show up in a sling to the stadium.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, I can't move my arm. But yeah, it just sucks because I just think there's a lot of potential in this team because I remember watching baseball, with Sosha, and I know we were spoiled with that, but even prior, I mean, like I know it was a different era and stuff, but just you knew that, okay, if we get it to the 8th inning and we're up 2 runs, we're going to Frankie right here, or we're going to Shields and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, you knew who you had, and it's like, okay, Shields pitched the night before. I mean, Hudler used to on the telecast would be like, well, he's got a rubber arm, he could pitch every other night every night if you needed him to. You don't hear that no more across baseball. I think there's a narrative being spun. It's like, oh, well, we got to watch this. And it's very frustrating to watch these games when you got Wayne and Gooby like, hey, well, he pitched last night and, he threw 13 pitches. I don't think he's ready. What? I mean, Nolan threw more, like you said, you brought up Nolan Ryan. He threw more pitches in warmups than some of these guys are throwing in their actual, 3 outs, like that dude once threw 257 pitches in a game. So,
and shame on Gooby. You're from the era, but get out there and throw. I love Gooby, and I understand sometimes your bosses say you got to say certain things in order to keep your job, and you're going to go ahead and do that. But you guys are selling out against MLB great takes on it, bashing the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to bash your own system a little bit, saying, "Hey, maybe this is not working for us." Because Gooby, come on, dude, this is a guy who is thrown out there whenever the manager said you're pitching. Period. No
Yeah.
questions asked. Oh no, I'm a little tired. No, get out there. You're gonna compete, or we're gonna find someone else who will. That's what the mentality needs to be back in Anaheim again. Because, but you have to have the depth to do it. We don't have it, so we got to make moves, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what do we do this offseason? We got
Yeah.
one guy with an arm problem already. Brought him in. Now he's out for the year. You got Simber. I hate sidewinders personally. I mean, that's like the last ditch effort type thing. They get a lot of crap going through the system too. Sidewinders, going college baseball, minor leagues. People talk nothing but trash to you because that's all you have left. But
Yep.
overall, we could have made some moves to get some guys here. I mean, we signed Brian Shaw from the Indians when he was the closer, or Ohio team. We're going that far, but we had Brad Hand available this year. You had a whole bunch of relievers available. We refused to spend money, but you're going to be okay spending $40 million a year on Ohtani. But anyway, that's off topic overall. But it's just, I need grit. We need grit back. And I thought Washington was going to bring that, but he's being handicapped as well by Artie and or Perry. But we got to see what happens overall and see who's actually leading the system.
Absolutely. And I know we're taking one game at a time. And, obviously, that'll be my last question about the Twins. But I'm going to give you a hypothetical question real quick. In your opinion, let's just say the Angels finish this year about, I don't know, 74 to 76 wins. And they're playing very competitive, but they are losing the games. And you could see where there's, like you said, the lack of depth that kills us at point, but we're right there. And like we need a pitcher here or a pitcher there, or we need a hitter here or a hitter there. And this team could be playoffs. This team could be maybe possibly a 90-win team next year, the following year. In your opinion, are you going to go into the offseason as Rob yourself, confident that Artie will see the writing on the wall and open things up either with a new GM or with Perry to get the players needed to compete next season?
I don't think Artie breaks out that checkbook, to be honest with you, man. He's
Oh,
delusional, man. Think about it. He thinks that we have enough to win the World Series today.
I need you to talk me into this.
I'm talking you out of this. Might as well run for president at this point in time. He wouldn't do any worse, wouldn't do any better, wouldn't do any worse. He's the exact same. He's sleeping on this team, thinking that what we have is good enough. One of the worst minor league systems, one of the worst training staffs, one of the worst medical staffs. What do you want from this team to succeed? You give them nothing, literally nothing, and you expect them to win. How? You're lucky that Mike Trout's so loyal and he wants to stay with one team. If not, he'd be gone if he's any other player. Saying, hey, this isn't for me, respectfully, because you don't even know what you're doing here. I'm trying to win. My clock's ticking. The hourglass is almost out of sand, so I got to do something for myself in order to win for my legacy, if people think that way. But Trout's like, no, let's win it here. But what are you doing to win it here? You can't say, okay, let's say, is Sandoval gone, or are we still under control for one more year? Suarez is gone?
Suarez is gone.
I think Sandy might be up there too, because what do you do with him? Anderson has one more year left.
After this year, yeah.
And even then, he might want out of this system too, because he still wants to win. So you lose 3 pitchers, let's say, per se, including your bullpen too, because you're going to lose Matt Moore, 1-year deal again. Estevez, his deal's up again. You're going to have to replace a minimum of 5 guys. You can't go to the minor league system to do it because you don't have it. What do? You have to break open that checkbook. No, we're going to get rental players. We're going to get those guys on the last leg, looking for 1 year to see if they can prove themselves. They're going to be a trade piece of the deadline later on, and we're going to try to rebuild from there. But then we're going to trade it all the way back again the next year.
I was hoping that you would give me a comment so I could react like Jim Carrey, where I'd be like, "So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance for last place."
Well, I know. I mean, when you put it that way, I mean, either way, they're going to have to figure out, okay, do we go with Matt Moore again? Like again, do we go with these same guys who got us here, or were they pitching just for a contract? I mean, you got to make all those tough decisions because they are all on those 1-year options or 1 year, they're out of options, all that stuff. I mean, it's very tough, like going in. That's why. And then it was wishful thinking on that question. Let's just put it to you that way, Rob, because again, like you have a manager that gets only a 2-year contract, and then you got a GM that only gets he's on his last year, so you don't even know if he's coming back, and does he really like Ron? And the new GM, is he really going to like Ron, extend him? Because I think we all think Ron's a lifer if given the opportunity. And man, it's just every year you think, okay, they're going to eliminate these questions at the end of the year and be more on point with a plan. It seems like, again, we're going to go into next year with zero plan. And this could be a pleasant surprise to where all we need is a tune-up for the following season and a couple stars here and there. I mean, it doesn't maybe need all that much. Maybe these rooks come through. Maybe the young kids play good enough to show you, hey, we're ready for the next year, So that is tough, man. And when you put it to me like that, it's sort of a slap in the face. So I don't appreciate that, Rob.
Good morning, by the way.
but no, it was a great answer. It's a great answer.
Think about this real quick too. I mean, how frustrated are you going to make these young guys, the O'Hoppies, the Netos, Moniak or Odell too? I mean, think about Odell. We really crapped on him, and he's succeeding now. He's free agent after this year. He is building his stock pretty high for the Angels to have to sell out to get him, to retain him.
Yeah, if he's not in your plans moving to the future and Artie says he's got to finish out the season, that's going to piss me off, because if you're not going to sign him back, he's going to be one of those players where if he's putting up numbers, you really got to think about trading him at the deadline.
Yeah, you do. I mean, the problem is the Angels is that Artie wants to compete, quote unquote, but he won't tank it. He won't sell out. We haven't been in last place since the 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
Even in 2003, when we were pretty bad after winning the World Series, we weren't in last place. We were still competitive, but he won't tank the team and rebuild. You've said it thousands of times on these post-game shows. Fernando has said it. Dominic said it. Everyone said, James squared. You have to let this team go down the bottom, rock bottom, and build back up again. Baltimore did it, looking pretty good. The Reds did it, looking really great. Tampa Bay does it every so often. They sell everyone off and they're back at it. But Miami does it. We're the only ones who have yet to tank and bring a team back, because we went ahead like last year. Oh, let's compete. Let's get rid of all of our good young players and get Lucas Giolito with Dylan Cease sitting right next to him. Instead of getting the top guy on contract for the next 2 years, let's get Giolito. Why? Give up the extra guy. If you're going to give up all these top prospects, give up a little bit more, because Edgar Cuero is killing it right now for them.
I haven't even looked at his stats because I don't want to piss myself off, So
don't do it. Don't do it. It's sad. Like the product that we're getting back on it, and it all leads back to the ownership. You got to. It's perfected system, right? The art of underachieving and not fully tanking is the Angels' motto. That's all we do. We underachieve. We don't tank. Just tank it. We could have had a great team the past 2 years if we would have tanked it early with Ohtani and Trout still healthy, and not signing Rendon, hopefully. Because then that's the other thing too. If you tanked it and brought all these young guys, there was no need to sign these big name guys like Rendon and all these other guys, these big contracts. You'd have capital, but we don't have it.
And think about this too, Rob. Every other roster, even like your Kansas Cities, have done rebuilds, and now they're playing really good this season. You're seeing the fruits of their labor. And do you think a Kansas City, a Pittsburgh, a Baltimore, any of these teams, even the Dodgers, Padres, when they have these guys that they draft that are can't miss prospects, and that they could pull them up if they wanted to midway through their first year, but they don't, because they want them to play down there for a year. They want them to raise their stock, work on all of their imperfections as much as they can, then bring them up when the need is great. The Angels under Perry, I've never seen prospects run through the minors so fast. And that's a product of us being so bad and us needing so much help at the major league level. Like we don't have those free agents or those players that we could plug in there and say, okay, we can let Neto get a full season in the minors. We can let Shonowell get a full season in the minors. It's like, no, hurry up.
You can't even call them prospects. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're throwing through that system so quick. They're not even prospects itself. And here's one thing that I don't know if we've talked about overall that we don't do. When someone's drafted, and I hate to say this again, by the Dodgers, immediately they're given an iPad. They're given an iPad to work on the stuff. Here's what you want. Here's your film. Here's this. They're also in that iPad given a nutrition plan. Here's your nutrition plan. Here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to eat. Hey, if you don't have food, here's where you go. This is how much you can spend. This is how much food we have allocated to you. Then they go to the training staff. Elite. If you have you ever seen Dodger Stadium spring training, their actual weight room,
No.
it is probably amongst some of the best. Along
Our,
Toronto has a great one too.
ours is worse than Planet Fitness.
Ours is worth playing. Oh my god, it's a minor league camp one. They said I have a buddy who works in that industry at strength and conditioning. He's the Angels strength and conditioning is the equivalency of the minor leagues for every other team, including the Oakland A's. Are you kidding me? The Oakland A's are outperforming us. They can't even keep their stadium in order. They have possums rolling around. You can eat one, buy one, get one for free when you go there for a game. But yet we can't even get something going. Yeah. We hand out we get Chick-fil-A to the guys. Yeah, great nutritional value on that thing. Freaking awful.
Angels management be like, well, you know what? If the Angels score 7 runs tonight, you guys get a free chicken sandwich. French fries from McDonald's if we hold them under 3.
You know what they're getting this from? They're getting this from the promos that we get. Score 9 runs or more. Hey, we have leftovers. Let's feed them to the guys. That's what I feel like we do. That's our nutrition plan. It's freaking awful.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. One Jets pod checks in with Angel strength and conditioning consists of smoking and scratching themselves.
One Jets pod with the Saints draft pick coming in. Pretty good. I'm happy.
There you
know
go.
What we are? We're the Atlanta Falcons.
Do you think
we go after something? Yeah. Look what they just drafted. They drafted a quarterback after signing a quarterback to big money. There's no game plan there. What was the set plan? We don't go after our general needs.
They needed
pitchers
players.
Did we draft?
20.
That 1 year.
20.
How many there are in the major league or in AAA?
Geez, I think it's whittled down to about 6. They've cut guys have retired, so that didn't work out.
No, it's what's the freaking plan here overall? But anyway, that's my rant on that thing. It's early in the morning, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just over here ranting away.
By the way, since you brought up the Falcons real quick, Penix was a guy that's supposed to go in the late first round, if not the second round. He went number 8, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the only team who was going to be dumb enough to take him were the Raiders. Sorry, Raider fans. I was like, the guy didn't really fit the system there. But,
well, the Raiders pick wasn't good either. They clearly need a quarterback, and they're all tight end.
Brock Bowers. Yeah, he's a good tight end. But every time Randy comments, the One Jets, man, the freaking Jets, man. They did it right, man. They did it right. They broke it down. They rebuilt it. They got Angels, take that system. Rebuild with young guys, break it down, get those veterans in to help you win. And that's what we need to do. Who's still free agents out there? I think Brandon Belt's still a free agent. We talk about Zach Greinke. Everyone's throwing that around. We need somebody to come in and fill these roles for us.
Yeah, if we got to go wily veterans, let's do it. Let's do it the right way. Let's not get the shitty ones.
Yeah, let's not get ones who are hoping to come back at some point in time and make a AAA team.
Exactly. So, final question before Roger needs to tell us what time the season starts.
We got a lot of baseball left to be played, and the season starts tonight.
So, with that being said, what is your prediction for this Minnesota Twins series?
I'm gonna go with my inner honk and go Rally Chris special 2 out of 3.
Oh,
I think Pablo Lopez gets this.
You think Pablo Lopez gets this? Okay. I'm gonna go deep into my honk, and I'm gonna say we sweep.
No, you can't sweep. They're going to go ahead and review some play. They're going to say, no, Angels, you cannot win the baseball game. We're going to go ahead and call you out, or we're going to call the other team safe. We need to go ahead and rig these games because want to know why? You let Ohtani bet, so we're going to bet on you to lose. We're going to double down to pay this guy. That's what's happening right now. I'm firm believer the Dodgers and the MLB are in cahoots to betting against us. Ohtani, what is the money line tonight? And we will bet that way.
Yeah. He's like, I don't talk English. I mean, I do. Plus 125 on the Twins.
God.
Jack says Sandy gets the win tonight. I'm hoping I'll be there tonight. So let's see what happens.
Bauer. I see that right there.
Yeah. Bauer would be nice.
He's blackballed from baseball. I get it.
Yeah, he is.
I get it. They all take a stand together. Owners are tight, thick as thieves. NFL the same way.
Yeah.
He's arrogant, but he comes out innocent every single time. If he just shut his mouth, You know, the little tape. Have you seen that tape? They say to help you sleep so you don't snore. Put it over your mouth. He needs that full time.
He
So
does.
he can't talk.
I'll say one thing: whenever you mix politics with sports, it's never a good thing, right? And I would have to say, if you're going to pick which side is the majority in sports, it'd probably be Democrats. So again, you want to keep as down the middle as possible. And there's certain narratives by both sides that they push. So I'm not taking a side, but just think about this. Bauer's already speaking too much, like you said, online. He's already, he should have just shut up. Which show does he go on the other day? I saw a clip that came on my YouTube feed, and that is a Steven Crowder show, who he's super right, super Republican, and the Democrats hate him, and he's pissed off a lot of important people. So it's like Bowers, that's the last show he should be on, dude. You know what I mean? Like that and The View. Those are two shows he should stay away from. And he went on one of them already. It's like, bro, if you're not blackballed officially, you are now.
Oh, he said stay off of you. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's his PR rep, his agent Rachel. I thought she was better to kind of like rein him in a little bit. Granted, I'm sure you can't really control him, but he needs a PR team to say, hey, Mr. Bauer did not mean this. He means that. Spin a little bit, because he's amongst the best pitchers in the MLB still today. I'll say that out loud. I don't care what anyone says. He's better than Yamamoto. Proven in Japan, proving it down there in Mexico. Yeah, he had a rough first start, but who doesn't have a rough outing here and there? Come on.
I mean, they said the same thing when he was in Japan. His first start was bad. They're all like, oh, see, he sucks. And then all of a sudden, he just dominated the league. So
yeah, let the guy be. I mean, he's used to having spring training. Didn't have spring training, so
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, but I'm at the point where he's not going to get a job this year. You'll see Zach Greinke out there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that. Look at Urias, same thing.
Yeah. Jetspot says sign Urias and get Todd his jersey. If he signs, I will with the Angels somehow, some way. I'll either put Cyclops on the back or urinal cake. So one of the two. or just when he pitches and I go, I'll just be like tossing up and down a urinal cake in my hand, like one that hasn't been used. But yeah, that's my guy. But
yeah, man, it's I don't know. This series, man, it has me going, has me on the edge right here. This is not a make it or break it. I don't want to say it's so early, but it's a rough road after this still to go. I mean, the Phillies in itself, and you're traveling. You're back on the road again, and Major League Baseball hates us, or whoever did the scheduling this year really hates us and just puts us behind the eight ball. We're not a top-tier team anymore, so people can care less when the Angels play. That's why the Philly game's on a Monday.
Yeah, it goes back to the 90s. I mean, like, I think we're back in that spot where, if the Angels, like I remember watching them in the 90s where they couldn't sniff, or when they did get a primetime game, they were up against an insurmountable team. They were a bad team, but they were playing like the Cleveland Indians, who were at the peak of their popularity, the peak of their power. You know what I mean? Like, look, we never got a break, and I think that's where the Angels are heading right now. So, we'll have to see, but like you said, these 3 games are important. You gotta finish this homestand strong. Ideally, I would like to finish it 4-2. I would have been much happier had they won 2 out of 3 against the Orioles, and then you win 2 out of 3 against the Twins. You just at least win a series, as you move along. But Angels can't do that.
The Orioles. Just left them. We had the opportunity. It was there.
Absolutely. Well, Rob, thanks for coming on for Breakfast with the Halos. Got some people on. They'll probably check out the live later on when it uploads. But any final thoughts besides you're showing off your guns? You're making Randy
Dad
very
bod.
hot under the collar.
Dad bod, man. You know how it is. You have kids. You know exactly how it is, man. Also needs superhuman strength.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have that much. Oh, where am I at? I don't have that much. Already signed me, man.
Look at that. It's all defined. Shut up.
2 Tommy Johns, man. I'm ready to go. I fit right in. With this baseball team. 2 Tommy Johns, I can play still. I can throw about 80.
Why aren't you playing with us then? You should be out there filling in for Suarez. Ron should be like, he's our best righty out of the pen.
Yeah, I can give up 4 runs in an inning. I can do it. I'll try. I'll try really hard at that one there.
Good. We could rip Rob on the post game show.
Hey, yeah, good. By the way, how do we get a game with Todd in? Like, how does that work? Is it like a raffle, or do we bid on it?
What do you mean?
I don't know. The fans, man. How do we get a game with Todd? Like, how do we get a game to go see it with Todd? And could we get Fernando or Dominic to come in and everything, or and James Squared? How does that work, guys?
I don't know. I mean, maybe we should do some sort of contest with that. Whether it's
I'll
like
start the bidding. I mean,
it'll be $5.
I got like $5. Yeah, I got $5 for wallet. It's cool. I'll go $5.25.
I'll put you in the 600 level. Blind date section. That would be cool. I mean, like watch a game with me and deal with my obnoxious comments for 3 hours or 2 hours.
See you
however
kicked
long.
out of the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We'll figure that out, dude. That's a good idea. Especially getting Fernando down, that'd be pretty cool because he's probably only going to be able to attend 1 or 2 more games this year because being in Texas, it's hard to come out west. So
why would you want to with this team currently?
Yes, exactly. That's commitment, though. If he does,
it is.
Yeah. All right, Rob. So for Todd Fox and Rob from the Heedy Network, we bid you guys farewell. And we'll talk to you after the game tonight. See you, Rob.
See you guys.